Hello everyone and welcome back to a bonus episode of Teach, Sleep, Repeat, a Q&A special. Hayden, how you doing?
I'm good. We haven't done this in a while, have we?
I know, right? Well, I on Instagram asked for some questions and we duly got people ask us a bunch of questions and I think they're really good and I really want to ask you them. We were planning on doing it in the main podcast, but you know, we're like natter. We filled up the whole time.
Yeah.
So instead of having a 3-hour long podcast episode this week, we're just going to do a little bite-sized one now.
Good.
Releasing it halfway through the week, and you might hear your question. If you didn't, well, you're here for the ride anyway, because I can tell you now, there is an eclectic mix of questions in here between serious, fun, and just a bit weird.
I always get a bit nervous when I've not seen them, and I think,
No.
God, what have been asked?
That's my favourite thing, I must say.
Yeah, okay.
So should we crack straight on?
Yeah.
Okay,
Hit
so
me.
This one is the first one because context on Instagram when I asked for these questions, I also put a picture of you and I when we did our Christmas photo shoot as a joke when we were decorating the tree and things like that. And I said, here's a Christmas picture for bonus for thank yous for questions.
Yeah.
And the first one we got was from the Slowish Diaries. This is from Beth. She's a listener. What's the word when someone listens frequently? A frequent listener.
An avid listener.
Yeah, and she, I love hearing her feedback from our podcast episodes. So keep it up, Beth. I really like reading it. She asked us, speaking of Christmas, what is your best and worst Christmas parties that you've ever had at work?
Oh, that's cool. Go on, worst jumps to mind. I'm going to come to worst afterwards.
Okay.
My best Christmas party, very vain, I know, has been when we have just got together as a staff team
Yep.
at our school. We've used our own school hall.
Yep.
Everyone's brought in some food.
Yep.
So we've made a massive buffet of food. It's so cool. Like, we've not gone to a restaurant. We've just literally brought it all in. And then me and you have hosted a staff quiz. And the reason that it's not because we're hosting the quiz. The reason I love it is because we just take the mick.
Yeah.
We have a laugh.
Yeah.
Like, the quiz is not serious.
Yeah,
We just
because someone listening might think quiz. That sounds horrendous.
we do stupid prizes, stupid rounds. We have a bit of fun. There's always some sort of sports round where we have to make something, do something silly. We had one where we had to eat a mince pie as quick as you can, like just stupid things like that.
Yeah.
And we just get together as a staff team, generally have a laugh.
Yeah.
Like, we might then
There's
play
always a
game.
music round,
Yeah.
isn't there?
Just a bit of fun.
basically listening to some music.
And then we all bring a bit of alcohol. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, well, people that drink are just having a beer or having a wine,
and
or
then
whatever.
it inevitably ends up at the pub after.
Yeah.
So it is nice and it saves money as well.
And that one year we did my favourite one was where we did some karaoke afterwards.
Yeah.
We went to a pub, like a local pub afterwards as a staff team.
Yeah.
And we did some karaoke.
Yeah.
And it was just generally a really, really good time.
Yeah.
Worst Christmas party that I can think of is, I can't remember where it was, but we went to a venue.
Sure.
It was one of those venues where there's like 50 other workplaces all there, and you're not even in like a separate room. It was just, you just have your big table, and then right next to you is
The local plumbing
team, and they're there just causing a ruckus, and I'm just like, it doesn't feel.
It's not intimate, is it?
Intimate, yeah. I didn't really enjoy that.
I agree. I don't. When you do those big venues, it's a really nice idea, and quite often, depending on where they're set, they can be done really nicely if there's not literally like 60 other groups of people and the music's crap, and quite often the food's bad because they're feeding hundreds of people at once. It's not great. It's not like a restaurant. It's just like a run of the mill, like huge cooking. I don't know. It's just it wasn't great, but I think they can be done well. But in general. I just want an excuse, basically, for a good Christmas party. You want an excuse just to see your teacher mates, have a good time, let your hair down, have a natter, have a laugh, go to the pub if you want to after. But also, I think it's important, genuinely, that you can slip off at any time.
Yeah.
If you go into a big event, you can't, you're getting tired, you've got kids at home, you can't just nip off after an hour or two.
You're in your suit, you rented your tuxedo for the night.
Exactly.
Get your use out of it.
But when you're just doing the school hall or the pub or something, at any point you can be like, right, got to nip off, lovely to see you all. You're accommodating for more people, I think, in that respect.
Definitely.
So, cool. I agree.
Good question.
Definitely. It was a great question.
More, hit me.
Next one, a bit more on the serious teaching side now.
Ooh.
I thought this was a really interesting question. This is from Simon, the inclusion teacher, and it is about inclusion.
Ooh.
As a teacher, what do you think are the essential features of neuro-affirming practice that should be present in the classroom? And just to clarify for anyone listening to that thinking, what exactly do you mean? By this, I think Simon means you have children in your class who are neurodivergent, ASD, ADHD, etc., whatever it might be. What, as a teacher, can you have control of in the classroom that is neuro-affirming, which isn't trying to make them fit a square box if they don't fit, but is just allowing them to be themselves, and basically it's inclusion,
accommodating for all neuro. Yeah, I'm going to try and make up a word.
Divergencies.
Neurodivergencies. If that's I'm sure it is. I think there are some easy things you can do. Like, even I don't think I'm going to start with this. I don't think you need to necessarily know, oh, I've got this child with this particular thing, and so I have to do this specific thing for them. I think you can, obviously that's good, but I think you can also just have a general practice where it's going to fit everyone in your classroom anyway. For example, having the visual display, right? It doesn't matter if you know, oh, I've definitely got this child who's diagnosed with ASD and they specifically have told me they like the visual display. You can just have it there because actually there might be some children in your class who benefit from that anyway. And also there's always going to be children who are undiagnosed as well with certain neurodiversities, right? Sure. You can just be accommodating, assuming that there are children that might benefit. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think you really sounded then like you were like, I don't need to know what individual people need.
No. It's good to know, but what I'm trying to say
and you should still know and should still put things in place individually.
I'm trying to say the opposite. Yeah. If you go, oh, I've got no one in my class who's been diagnosed with anything, so I don't need to do any of this stuff. I don't think you should do that. I think you should just always have a few things that you do. Can you think of easy wins?
Visual timetables, easy win. I think for me it's attitude. It's a big part of it is attitude, where you can become a bit more old school with teaching, where you're just like, I can imagine me earlier in my career saying something like, look at me when I'm talking to you, please. That's just polite to look at someone when you're talking to you. Straight away, eye contact's really difficult for some children. And the fact they're not looking at you is okay. Yeah, and it's about being accommodating, I think. And there will be some children in your class, and this is the whole thing, I think it's between, oh, but they're getting more allowances. That's not fair. Okay, we talked about before what's fair and what's equitable. Yeah. Someone might need more than you to cope. There might be a child in your class who genuinely does need to not do work for 5 minutes because they need to calm down or they've got themselves in a rut. Let them do that. Having the attitude as a teacher where you're not forcing them. No, you need to communicate me in this way. I need to see everyone's hand up, please, right now. And I'm going to pick someone at random and you're going to talk in front of the whole class. It's just being nuanced about it. There are some children as a teacher where you can be like, no, come on, I need an answer from you. And that's perfectly acceptable. But as a teacher, you need to be aware of the fact there's some children where a communication from them might be holding up the whiteboard. Communication from them might be, in fact, you're going to go to them later on and find out what they know one-to-one in a much quieter environment. They might need to have something in place where they're wearing ear defenders, for example, because it's just simply too overwhelmingly stimulating for them. And it's just having that neuro-affirmation in the classroom, it's an attitude as well, I think. And that's the easy way for a teacher. We need to know all the nuts and bolts. Of course, we need to know exactly what each child needs, and that's something we can't really advise on. But what we can advise on, all teacher, is what you're saying, a bit more on the macro level. Just be a bit understanding.
Yeah, just be aware that there could be other things going on that you don't understand yet. I think what a bad teacher can do is just automatically assume every child is being rude when they don't give you the exact response that you want to the way you've done something in the classroom. It's like, well, maybe they're not being rude. Maybe there's something else going on, and you should probably just consider it before your reaction. Do you know what I mean? I always remember just one quick story. I always remember a long, long time ago. This is before I'd really, I guess, understood this. I wasn't very experienced at this point. But I expected an answer. I was in that stage of thinking, right, I've been told that everyone needs to interact with my class, so I'm going to start just picking them out at random. If they don't give me an answer, they're going to, there's some sort of consequence.
That's wrong,
consequence. And I was like, I look back at that and cringe, right? And I sort of got this boy to answer a question who never normally puts his hand up, and there's me thinking, he's just not getting involved, he's being rude, and it really upset him. It really upset this boy that I'd put him on the spot, and I spoke to him afterwards, and I'll never forget it because I felt awful that I'd done this, because really I was doing it not from the right place. I was doing it from the place of it's almost like statistics. Well, I must get all of the children being robots and they're all interacting at least 8% of the lesson, and then I know I'm doing a good job. Actually, that kid, I never, ever did that to that kid again. And do you know what? They learned loads, and they were fine, and they were a passive learner. They never put their hand up in lesson because that was, I was affirming their...
Oh, that's a controversial thing to say. I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
It's a controversial thing to say in teaching that someone doesn't have to input lots into a lesson to be a learner. And it's okay. And I've noticed myself, I've shifted what I say at parents' evening and stuff now. I used to say, oh yeah, she's a very quiet girl, quite reserved actually, just keeps herself to herself. No, instead now I say something like, she's fantastic at learning independently. She's brilliant at just cracking on and understanding something. She's fantastic. Yeah, brilliant.
I quite often say things like passive and active as well. Because it's not a problem. I don't think it's bad to be. They're quite a passive learner.
It has a negative connotation. Someone hears passive learner, sometimes they think, oh, that's bad.
Yeah, they're not paying attention. It's like, no, they're just, they learn
but actively saying that's different, and it's okay to be different. You're right. It's quite robotic when you learn teaching, because it's got to fit into the box, and it's easy to teach someone robotic rules like you've been saying.
I think this comes with experience, by the way. This is a really good question, by the way. it. I think this is the kind of thing that you get with it, like a lot of people get with experience.
Yeah.
And I think when you
have the children in your class, haven't you? Yeah. And react to them and learn from them and say, oh, actually, okay, I'm going to do this better next time.
There are tons of different types of people, and actually, I can't just have this one size that fits all, and I constantly have to adapt to the way I interact with people.
Yeah.
Based on quickly how I'm picking up, how their brain works.
I still struggle with that with adults. Never mind children in my class.
It's hard.
Right, next question. Great question, by the way, Simon. Thank you. Next question from Laura Nick. She says, how can we actually cope with the autumn term when it's dark and miserable, and you get up in the morning and you go to school and it's dark, and you finish your day of teaching and it's dark and miserable? It sounds like it's like haha, yeah. But you know what? It's like seasonal depression is a thing.
Yeah,
like what would be your advice to people who just really struggle with that? Because I think you and I struggle with it.
I was going to say, firstly, I'm not here to give you a quick answer because I struggle with this as well. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I honestly. Well,
what do you do every year? Because I know, for example, I actually think you have a bit of seasonal depression.
Yeah, I'm feeling it right now.
Because it has an impact on a lot of people. What do you do? Do you just have to grin and bear it? Do you have strategies?
You just got to get. Do you know what I do actually?
Yeah.
On those kind of days, I find myself going outside to break time and lunchtime a lot more.
Right.
I just get outside.
That's
honestly,
a good point.
just get outside, get in the sun.
Go for a walk at lunchtime.
Literally just get out there. Yeah, I do that. I do that way more often. I don't think I even necessarily think about it, but I definitely do that. And at the weekends as well. I'll make sure I go out more than I would normally because I'm quite a hermit.
Yeah.
And I don't mind doing that in the summer.
Yeah. But if you spend one weekend indoors, that's almost 2 weeks then where you actually might not get much sunlight, and that's going to have an effect on you.
Just get outside.
Yeah, I don't think I have too much more to say in terms of just like almost sympathy. Like it is a slog.
Yeah.
It's a slog. And again, people I know there's lots of people who outside of teaching who look in and say, you get your holiday. I work hard. Yeah. Do you know what? You might also suffer from this.
Yeah.
This isn't me saying how awful this is the thing that a lot of people have.
Yeah.
And I think it's a thing. And do you know what? I'm trying to think now if, when you change the clocks, so in autumn, it goes back, right? So when it was like 7 a.m., it's now 6 a.m. And then in the evenings, it draws in your nights so more quickly. So if it was, let's say the sun was setting at 5, I dread the clocks going back because now the sun's setting at 4. And that jump, it really has an effect where I can kind of feel like before and after.
Yeah.
And then after the clocks go back, which I think is imminent, cool, winter's set in now. I've got to get through this.
Yeah, it's winter now.
It's gonna be annoying. It's gonna be tough. But
do
you know what? When they start getting lighter again, doesn't that feel amazing?
Yeah. Oh god, yeah. Absolutely.
So good.
Just needs to last longer.
Yeah, exactly. So get outside, basically. I know it's raining and grim.
Not the best advice, but
no, it's good. Next one from Wilkes J. Thank you, Wilkes. I think that's your second name. This is linked with the main podcast. Online parental communication, specifically online. Emails, etc. We talked about how face-to-face is really important. You can get to the point. Even on the phone, I guess is like a middle ground here. Yes or no?
Big no.
Big all.
No. Straight no.
So you don't think, let's clarify, you don't think at any point ever a teacher should be emailing a parent?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely not.
So not even, there's no nuance like earlier when you're like, okay, obviously. Because I think, again, full transparency, in our school, it's very much controlled. It goes through the office. The office will get in touch with us. I think that's a really good way of doing it.
Yeah.
There have been times where I have just emailed a parent back because I thought, in this instance, this is much easier. It's going to take me 3 minutes to send this email. It's going to clarify something nice and quickly. We could have gotten arranged the meeting. I could try and catch you, but you don't often pick up because you've got work and then your kid goes to club. Sure. Right now, in this case, I'm just going to email you back. You don't set a precedent, like you said.
Yeah.
But there are moments where I'm just like, sure.
Okay, up to individual. Do you know what? That's fine. I wouldn't get annoyed at you if I was a leader for you doing that. But I absolutely would make it very, very, very clear as a leader that the rule of this school is parents do not email you directly, and you are absolutely never expected to email them back. Just simple as that.
Okay, so you're a teacher now in a school where the leader, for whatever reason, has not made that clear.
Yeah.
There's a different policy where emails are on the school website. Quite often still see that in some schools.
Parents are directly emailing.
So parents can literally go to and it's accepted because it's on the school website. So you're a teacher in that school. What would your advice be to someone? We've spoken to someone recently who literally knows this is a bad thing to do, but has them on their phone. Work emails on their phone pinging through. You can end up there at 7. It's just easier for me to do this at 7 p.m. because I don't have to think about it.
Okay.
What would you say to them who, when they go, I know, but it's just easier for me to do this, but you're there going, nah, don't do it. What would you say to that?
Two things. Number one, please, if you're in that situation, because I've been there before, by the way, I know that sometimes the school policy does mean you just have to do it because that's your school. You can't just be like, no, I'm not. I'm the only teacher's not doing this. You look bad. please set up a work hours thing on your email. One, don't put it on your phone anyway. If you can avoid it, just don't do that. I took it off my phone years and years and years ago.
It was the best decision I ever did as well.
Yeah. Never looked back. Secondly, set up an out of hours email. It's extremely commonplace and normal for that to happen in every profession ever. Don't think that you'll suddenly now have to martyr yourself in your time. Just set up an out of hours work time. Whatever your boundaries are. If you don't want to answer emails after 5 p.m., that's the boundary you've set. Okay, an automated thing comes up on your email that says, I'm not in the office, I'll be back so-and-so time, and I'll try to get back to you within, 48 hours. Whatever you want to set. But set that boundary and stick to it. Whether it's your work policy or not, to have that out-of-hours email automated thing there or not, do it, because it's not a bad thing.
And then if something comes of that, where maybe someone in management says to you, oh, you've got this out-of-hours message, is that acceptable? At that point, you can honestly be like, yes, of course it is.
Yeah.
You are literally at this point saying to me, I should be answering emails at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
That's clearly out of directed time. It's clearly unreasonable.
Yeah.
At that point, I know we talked about saying no but in the podcast earlier.
Yeah.
Your no but there could be, no but I still have it on my phone and I'm still going to email.
Do you know what I do in my head to make me feel better every single time is I think of any other public sector job ever, or literally any job ever.
Can you message your nurse?
Yeah. Can I message my doctor? Can I email the police officer that I've like the specific, like, if you had a specific
and expect
case,
it immediately.
And expect them to reply at 8 p.m. Yeah. Absolutely not. Yeah. Of course they wouldn't. And I wouldn't even expect it. Can I email the company that I just bought something from at 8 p.m. and expect a reply? No, they'll reply to me in their next working day, maybe even the next one. I don't know. Yeah. And that's normal. Absolutely. Same for teachers.
I agree completely. So
and parents know that. They don't expect it.
Yeah, and do you know what? I don't think many do.
No, of course
I think the odd do, and they might be troublesome.
Only if you've set a precedent, I reckon, already.
But also at that point, you've just got to, back up your staff as well as a whole school and have a really clear policy. And that's really important.
Nice. Good question.
Cool. Next question from Katardios. I loved this question because it's very much specific to us. Mm-hmm. And I want an answer. I want a specific answer. Mm. Is it worth going part-time? We can expand on that. But I want a specific answer to this part. Mm. What's the best ratio? 0.1 to 1.0. What is the best ratio for going part-time?
Look, that's a very nuanced, difficult question to answer. Because,
and that's why I asked it, baby.
Yeah. Look,
give me a 10-second answer so you get in trouble with certain people.
Going part-time is great for everyone. No, going part-time is obviously objectively nice. It's good for your time and well-being. Definitely notice a huge improvement in well-being.
Well, for context, we went to 0.6.
We're on 0.6,
3 days a week.
Yeah, 3 days a week. I think the perfect ratio is 0.6. Do
you think?
Yeah, I really do. I think if you need to go lower than that, that's probably a good reason. If you're going down to like 0.4 or something like that, that's probably a reason, right? If
family commitments,
maybe I don't know, whatever. But like 0.8, that's quite a low amount. That's less than half.
Yeah.
3 days a week. Or even 0.8, I would say.
0.8 is quite common, yeah.
0.6 to 0.8, I think, is the sweet spot of you kind of get rid of that top end bit that like makes you feel burnt out all the time.
Sure.
You getting that day back in 2 days is particularly nice. Is like a really nice way to maintain your sanity. The pay is obviously a huge factor, and I think there's no point me even talking about that because everyone's life is different depending on pay. Like I can't assume that we're all in the same positions. No. So you need to factor that in yourself.
But we've talked about many times, you don't lose 40% of your pay by losing 40% of your time because of tax, etc.
Yeah, exactly.
You lose about 25% of your pay
for 40% of your time.
Exactly. So it's, if you can afford that, it's actually a good deal in terms of that.
I'd say
I want to challenge you a little bit because I think going part-time is awesome. And I think that in terms of literal burnout of standing there for 10 hours during the day and delivering lessons and stuff, I don't think going to 0.8 or 0.6 remotely affects your mental capacity and your mental burnout. I really don't, because I think you still got to know all the ins and outs of your class. We talked about inclusion earlier. You don't have to suddenly know 60% of the HCPs in your class. You don't have to suddenly get 60% of your children to be expected standard. All of that kind of mental load and exhaustion and knowing the progress of children. You still have to know what they're learning on those days, because then you're going to pick up on it. You still have to be completely involved in the planning process. You might not have to plan as many lessons, but that mental capacity, it doesn't budge. And I think the way I'd kind of change the answer to your question slightly, and I'm interested to see what you think, is I think going part-time is worth it if it's not those things that are burning you out and you resent. If it's those things that are burning you out and you're resentful for it and constantly thinking about your children and how they're going to progress, that's not going to change much. If in fact you've got something else you want to do in those 2 days, for example, spend a day with your child, it's incredibly impactful and you should immediately do it if you can. The amount of people I've had who've told me they've gone 0.8 and they've got an extra day of their child and it's transformed them and it's been the best thing they've ever done. Compared to I've seen people go to 0.4 and do 2 days a week, and they're gone, do you know what? This hasn't fixed my issues. I just don't want to do this job anymore. And it didn't work for them. They just got less money, and they had to either go back full time or more likely leave the profession. So I think going part-time is worth it if it fits the reasons why you want to reduce your time.
You're absolutely right in terms of it does take up your whole mind still. Like I still think of my class just like I did when I was full-time. That does not change. I still think of I don't think of 60% of the kids. And the 40%, I'm like, well, you didn't get chosen. I'm only part-time, baby. You don't get any of my thought space.
You get 60% your marking?
But what does happen is, and this is the sweet spot, that's what I want everyone to savor that's thinking about going part-time is, you know that feeling when you get home after basically any day at school and you're totally drained, right? Your mind and body is drained because you're standing on your feet all day, talking for 6 hours at a loud volume as well. Like you're not even just like mumbling. That feeling of like proper drained exhaustion, you only get that 3 days a week, not 5. It's as simple as that, honestly. Like there are just more days of the week now where I finish my day not feeling totally drained and dead.
Well, we can literally attest to this because we've had different jobs, and also we literally work on Thursday, Friday. We literally do a work day, right? It's at the computer a lot of the time. We're doing a lot of planning and sorting stuff out, etc. Podcasting. Nowhere near as exhausted at the end of it. And that's still a day of work. So you're absolutely right in terms of that physical exhaustion.
Yeah, it's great.
It did transform it because I used to get, by the end of term, I was on my last leg. I couldn't possibly, I think that's the saying, last leg. I couldn't go any further. Now I'm still tired at the end of this 8-week term nearly. But nowhere near what I would have been otherwise. 100%. I don't know how to do it.
It's the recoup time.
Next question. Kate Languages came on our podcast.
Hey.
I'm thinking, I don't know, a bit of an exclusive. Anyone, we might be going on her podcast at some point. Very exciting. Did you ever seriously contemplate any other careers before becoming teachers? So was there a point where you really seriously, not just when I was younger, I think, I want to be a surgeon one day. I want to be a doctor. Did you ever seriously consider doing something else?
Big time. And I still consider it as something where I'm like, I often think, should I have just pursued it as media? I really, really, really wanted to get into media.
So what, for context, your degree was in media, right?
Yeah.
You ended up doing a PGCE in teaching.
Yeah.
So in that interim bit where you'd done your degree or finishing your degree and deciding to do PGCE, what happened? Like, what was the story? Were you literally close to just going into it?
I mean, I worked with a local production company for ages anyway, and literally just helping on little shoots. They did a lot
throughout you at university.
For the last year of my university and through that year, that gap year, that year between university and deciding to do teaching, I worked for this production company, and I also tried to get into like a production company in London because I liked editing. Editing was the thing I think I enjoyed the most. I was like, I really want to be there, like putting all these clips together for a TV show or for a film, editing it all together and like making that magic happen. Like that's what I really wanted to do. And I think I was just too young. I was a bit too young, a bit too inexperienced.
Did you not want to go to London?
I really didn't want to go to London. That massively put me off.
It's a big
traveling.
commitment.
I get very, very bored very quickly. And traveling.
Would you not want to have lived there?
No, I wouldn't want to have lived there. I was, maybe if it was me now and my life was very different, right? Let's say I wasn't in this situation. Sure. And I was just 10 years on, right? I'd probably be more confident now to then be like, actually, do you know what? I'm going to go make something of it. But I really, really like, and I still kind of dream of, so I really want to be involved in like TV or film someday. I really do. I want to do a kids program, or I want to write a kids book, or something like I can marry it now to teaching. I can imagine myself writing a TV show one day. That's about teaching or for kids,
or some kind of podcast, some kind of educational podcast, which you can edit every week because
like
you love editing.
But you can see why this kind of was born. It makes sense.
100%. And there is something magical about I see teaching as entertainment as well. I really see them as intertwined massively, and it's you're putting on an act. And again, did I ever seriously contemplate a different career? I guess not in a way where I tangibly went about doing something about it. Like I mentioned, I think recently in a podcast, I had experience in a headhunting company in London.
But did you contemplate?
No, I didn't really contemplate. I contemplated it in that I went there and I tried it. But that's contemplation. I went to the day of the training and stuff. But it's because I was a graduate and I went for a graduate.
But was it an aspiration of yours?
It wasn't an aspiration of mine. Genuinely, an aspiration of mine still is to spread joy, spread entertainment. I love, again, same as you, I love the idea of television. I love the idea of media like this. Spreading out content, making people laugh, having conversations like this. This is the stuff I relish. I love chatting with my friends about things and just not having an argument, but like a debate about stuff and putting stuff out there. And I love hearing other people's point of views about things. But yeah, ultimately, I'm just imagine a situation where you've written a kid's book. That's insane to me.
Yeah.
And having done teaching for 10 years now, I feel like I kind of know what kids think is funny and what they enjoy and what they want to pick up and read. And I know I can make it a good text as well, because I know what the children need to see and have it modeled on.
It's often the thing that when I don't know about you, but when I go to bed, it's often my reflection time. I'm just laying down, there's a few moments before you fall asleep. I'm often thinking, and I'll ask myself big questions like, what do I want to achieve? Like, what do I really want? Am I still working towards my goals? That's the kind of things I think about.
Do you think right now you're working towards your goals?
I think I'm in a bit of a weird limbo right now. I really do. I think I'm in a weird place.
I struggle with it because you've mentioned this a lot of the time where you've kind of summarized my attitude for me, and I'm like, you're absolutely right, because I do have the attitude of you've got to make stuff happen. You've got to make stuff happen though, and someone's got to do it, so why not you? That kind of thing of and again, I don't actually like going on and on about the meme is that I've been on the TV and stuff and I've done quiz shows. I love quiz shows. I love quizzes. I've always been obsessed with them growing up, and people are like, wow, you were so lucky to go on that, weren't you? And I'm like, do you know what? I was lucky. There were like 50,000 people applied to go on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I think 40 got on. That is luck, isn't it? You're right. But I did apply 7 times to that show. I did put hours into just plowing into an application process. I did Zoom calls and I was unsuccessful. You've got to make it happen still. Someone who's never ever attempted anything. I had a conversation with someone I was quite close with at work who talked about it, and they were almost envious. They were like, oh, bloody lucky, that question. I knew that question on that show. And they were just like a bit annoyed, but joking as well. And I was a bit like, oh yeah, did you apply? No. Well, okay, well, there you go. You want to do a kids book. Have you sat down and tried to start writing a kids book yet? Well, no, because it's too tricky. Well, that's going to be part. Okay, you're never going to make a kids book then, are you? If you haven't sat down and tried to at least outline something and failed at it, you can't then be annoyed when someone else does it, or sit there. The worst thing you can do is sit there and go, oh bloody hell, these people, that's rubbish. What a rubbish idea.
I could have done that better.
I could have done that better. It's like, well, you didn't. You didn't though, did you? Yeah. You didn't do it better. And if you could have, you're even more of a mug.
It's very similar to like when people talk about modern art, isn't it? When people look at modern art, like the really genuinely rubbish ones.
Modern art is rubbish.
and they look at them like they're being lying on a
I could have put that toilet there.
I could have done that. It's like, did you though? It's like, do you know what? Do you know who did do it? That one specific person who's got it on a wall who's getting paid for it. But do you know what? Who's the mug here? Because it's not them.
Yeah, like the banana when it's taped to the wall. It's like, God, I could have taped the banana to the wall, but you didn't though, did you? I'm not being funny. You didn't do it. And if it was so easy that you're saying, why don't you try and do it? Because you know what? If you did do it, it wouldn't be artwork. Because you're not an artist. You haven't built yourself up over the years. You've not made a point. It's what it is.
Funny catch-22. Very good little rant there. It's very inspirational.
Yeah. Well, was it actually inspirational?
Yeah, it was. And I think you are good at that. You are really good at just taking that first step, which is the thing that people find the hardest. When we started our business, our tutoring business, years and years ago, really, it was because you were like, should we just actually do it then?
Yeah.
That's actually what made it happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were like, oh, let's just actually do it then. Let's meet up this weekend and actually do it and make a business.
Because there's other people who we really liked and our friends are still our friends right now, who at the same point in that conversation between 8 people would be like, yeah, that's a great idea. Everyone would agree it's a great idea to do. And then they'll kind of go, yeah, all right, carry on then, see ya.
Cool. But I've got this other thing to do, so see ya.
I'm not saying it's going to be... The worst thing is when someone's successful and they go, you just need to try yourself out of the rut and you'll be successful. It's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is if you don't try, you literally will never... It goes from 0 to 1%. Was I still lucky to get a millionaire? Was I still lucky to get the fastest finger that I knew? Was I still lucky to get questions? Was I still lucky to get a football question for 32,000? Yes. All of those things were incredibly lucky. But I never would have had the chance to have that luck if I didn't put myself out there in the first place.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying to people is if you want to do something, try it.
No idea what the original question was.
The original question was, have you ever seriously considered doing anything other than teaching? And my point is, yeah, I have. And do you know what? I still think I've got plans in the future that I, heaven forbid, I don't want to get morbid or anything, but let's say for whatever reason, something happened tomorrow and then that was it. Okay, and then hit by a bus or something. Would I be able to look back on everything and think, wow, I've achieved everything I wanted to. I tried. I gave it my best shot in all of these aspects. Honestly, right now, probably not. And I think that's something I struggle with because I think, okay, well, I need to do something about that then. Because what impact do I want to have long term? Even if it's, like you said, writing a children's book. Even if I write a children's book and I just read it to my children and they really enjoy it, that's successful. I'm not expecting to become David Walliams or anything like that.
Yeah,
but I want to try and do it, and I want to make my own kids laugh. If some kids laugh in my class and they like it, awesome. If other things come from it, awesome. But you've got to try. That's my big
regret
thing.
is a killer, and I think we're quite afraid of regretting, aren't we?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's keep going. Last few questions. This is going to turn into just
I was going to say, look at the time thinking this is just an episode. Whatever.
Only a few left. I think I'm having a nice chat, guys. I hope you're enjoying it. If you do have any questions, let us know, and we might do this every few weeks or so. Maybe just do another Q&A.
I'm sure there'll be some we can't do today.
Absolutely. Probably not though, because I'm so excited by these. This really jumped out at me, and again, it always gives me anxiety to think that, are we quite negative? I don't think we are. What's your answer to this question? This is from Rachel. I'm 7 weeks into teacher training, aged 41. Have I made the right decision? Question mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark.
Such a hard question, isn't it? Do you know what? Yes, you've made the right decision.
Yep.
Honestly, if you've got to that stage, like, give yourself some credit.
Yeah.
You've got to that stage. You've come to the conclusion that that's something you wanted to do. Yes, you made the right decision.
Yeah.
Will you change your mind? Maybe. In 5 years, you might not enjoy it anymore. And
in 1 year. In 1 year.
1 year. 10 years. Whatever.
Yeah.
But right now, have you made the right decision? Yeah, because that's what you wanted to do. So back yourself.
Exactly what we just said almost, isn't it? It's like, well, you thought about it. You got to 41. You wanted to try teaching.
Yeah.
Give it a go. You might love it.
Is teaching the most rewarding job on this planet? Yes, genuinely.
Yeah.
You will probably absolutely love it. I can't. There's nothing I loved more in my career, in my life, really, than that first year or two of teaching.
Even more than your own child.
Even more than your own child.
Yeah, my answer to that is no. Don't, you can only you can decide if you've made the right decision or not. What I would say to people is, I would still urge people to give teaching a go if they feel like that's something they're going to get a lot out of. It is really fulfilling. It is amazing. Again, my career, I've loved it. I've loved teaching kids. I think it really opens your eyes to stuff. And a lot of the time I've had people who I trained with who were older as well. Really good friends of them. We know them. And the same thing for them. They found that it was incredibly hard work. Yeah. They're like, that's unavoidable. They'd worked their whole lives in an engineering career, coming to teach, and they were like, guys, we were new in our first job. And I always remember him saying to me, I don't think you understand how much work this is. Yeah. Like, this is not a normal amount of work. This is a lot of work. And we only knew that. So and we were just like, oh, this is just what a job is, right? And so with that maturity, you do get a bit more street smart straight away. Yeah. You can kind of prioritize stuff a bit better, I think. And I think you can still get a lot out of it. And I would say, no, you had not made a wrong decision. You've made the right decision for you. Give it a go and see how it gets on. This is... I don't want to get deep because I think Hayden's worrying about how long this episode is. But
do you know what? Whatever.
This was a really good question as well.
Go on.
This is from, AIG Mears. Now, I know we spoke on Messenger as well. Some messages about this, and we clarified some bits. What do you think is your teaching philosophy that keeps you going? And at the crux of this, what we're talking about is the thing that the thing that makes you tick as a teacher, that got you into it in the first place, and that keeps you coming back for more. What is your philosophy? Kind of like your core principles, I think. Yeah. That really okay, this is what I am as a teacher, and this is what's important to me. And sure.
That's a deep question. I think when I really think about this, and sound maybe a bit corny, am I making people enjoy their lives more? That's like the deepest level of, and we're talking about kids, obviously, and not just people. Am I making a difference to how much those children are enjoying their lives, how much happiness they experience?
That's powerful.
I think that's really what it is. Yeah. You know, and we talk about entertainment a lot. I think that a lot of the way I do that is seeing this job as like an entertainment role. And yeah, we're teaching the curriculum, and that's really important, but marrying that with making the kids laugh. Making them go home thinking I love this subject, making them go home thinking my teacher really cares for me. Those bits, I think my deepest philosophy is, do the kids go home feeling, I don't care what their background is, let's just assume the worst for a second, right? Do they go home feeling like they are loved and cared for by me? If so, then I'm doing it right. That's all I care about, really, I think. You?
I think you've summarized it. I think there's almost everything in education, academic wise, can be picked up on in multiple ways. I think if you don't quite get something, it's okay. You've got next year as well to get it. You know, obviously there's more important things like reading and counting and money. Like, we can identify the key skills for society. Fine, that's really important. But why do I teach? It's to make children happy. Yeah. That is honestly, truly. That's why I teach. And someone might get annoyed at me and be like, no, it's because they need to know how to do the maths and stuff. Yeah. You're asking me what's the most important thing. You're asking me what makes me tick as a teacher, what makes me keep coming back for more. It's the fact that I can stand in front of 32 kids. They can be happy, laughing, enjoy their learning. School's safe for them.
Yeah, 100%.
That is genuinely all I care about.
Yeah,
so I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, good question. Absolutely. Really good one.
This is from someone called Lauren Joy. I don't know. You're Lauren. Something you want to achieve personally in half term. I think she's hinting at the dishes.
Yeah,
you need
I
to
want
do some dishes,
to make
please.
Lauren Joy extremely happy and enjoy her half term because she's definitely not my partner in the next room looking after our child right now.
But I thought it was a really good question, to be fair. When it comes to half term, do you set yourself like a goal or do you just go, well, let's just go with it, roll with it, let's just survive and get through and rest? But if you had to set yourself like something you wanted to achieve personally, what would it be in a half term?
Well, now we've got a child, and same for you, I guess. I want to get out the house and go and explore somewhere. That is my thing now. I never used to be that. I never used to really care. I just would, whatever I fancy doing is what I'd do. And if that happened to be nothing.
Happened to be RuneScape for 10 hours.
Yeah, it'd be a game on the computer, whatever. But now it's, I want to get out. I want to do something totally away from my job. I want to take my family out and go and have a really nice time somewhere. That is honestly like my only goal.
And that becomes a personal achievement, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, you're like,
it does in this job.
Yeah.
Because it's so hard to do that. Especially in a 1 week half term. You will almost definitely be thinking, I could fill every day with this work. I could plan ahead. I could do that.
I'm going to be more selfish
with
my one because I don't disagree with you, obviously. But from a selfish point of view, in half term, I want to ensure I have at least half a day doing whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
Completely for me.
Because I love my child. And
yeah. Obviously.
I love my child.
And I love myself.
Yeah, I think that's...
No, but obviously, Rory, it's unbelievable that we get these weeks off quite frequently. Don't get me wrong. It's nice. They still got to do work and stuff. I completely agree with what you're saying, but from a selfish point of view, and I think this applies to everyone, whether they have children or not, I'm just going to make sure I do something for me, booked in. That's my time. Don't know what it is. It might be with Rory. It might be on my own. It might be with you. It might be with someone else. I don't know. But I want to go and play snooker for 3 hours.
Yeah.
I want to go and watch a film at the cinema.
And go to an escape room.
Exactly.
And then have some lunch.
Exactly that. I'm going to do something for me. That's my personal achievement at this point.
Yeah.
Long term, I'm really excited about writing a book all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Just because you said it. I want to be creative.
It's a TV show for me. I don't know. I always think book and then I immediately start thinking of it as a TV show. So clearly I just want to write a TV show.
Well, watch the space, guys. Is any TV producers out there? I don't know. Okay, last one. And this is something we've touched upon recently. I think this person's clearly got the theme of what we've been saying.
One for this bite-sized, really short episode.
Let's just try and condense our thoughts here, okay?
All right.
So this is from Sharon Robinson, and it has AU at the end. Maybe an Aussie listener. Love an Aussie listener, by the way. Anyone who isn't keeping up with what we've mentioned, we've been on the Art of Teaching podcast with Matthew Green.
Check it out.
An Aussie, really nice chat. Anyway, this person says, Sharon, thoughts about leadership roles with additional hours and responsibilities, but no extra pay. Well, firstly, you go and watch our episode.
Yeah.
Go and listen to our episode because we've really, really gone into detail about this. And
I want you to answer this one.
Okay. Well, this is the problem when we post stuff online and it's 1 minute and people get angry with me.
Yeah.
There are always going to be extra responsibilities in any job that people have to pick up on. When I worked in a supermarket, I was on the same pay as my colleagues. There were some people who did more work than other people. There were some people who went and chatted for an hour with their mate because they could just get away with it. There's always going to be that resentment. So when someone says to me, yeah, it's the same in every job. Some people have responsibility, blah, blah, blah. Brilliant. You can moan about that because you're in that job. I'm in education. This is a very specific problem of literally built-in responsibility, built-in extra to your role as a class teacher. Nothing changes as a class teacher and expectations when you take on head of year, when you take on head of maths, when you take on head of English. So one of two things happens. You spend way more of your personal time doing that extra responsibility, or you spend less of the time doing your classwork and being a class teacher. Okay? Class teachers are lovely people. They're not going to let their class suffer. So what inevitably happens in these people who are amazing at being a class teacher is they burn out from doing extra work. That can be compromise. There could be you're getting a decent boost to your pay. And you think, do you know what? I'm doing a few hours extra work a week, but my goodness, I've got a really good boost in pay. That's going to pay for the increase in my mortgage because my interest rates have gone up.
Yeah.
That's going to pay for a holiday at the end of the year because I can reward myself by doing extra work. Because do you know what? Teachers aren't scared of doing extra work. The biggest issue I have with this is the expectation to lump onto someone for no additional pay, hours and hours of extra work at the weekend, without remotely compromising a job which is already taking up too much of their time. I think it's unacceptable. I think it has to change from the top down. And personally, I'd like to see it change from the bottom up as well. A bit more solidarity in schools, people getting together and saying, do you know what? We all do extra hours. Can we stop saying it's okay? Because instead of just moaning about it in the staff room to each other, but then going and spending 3 hours anyway doing it that evening, just a little bit of togetherness from us shouldn't have to come down to this, but that's the whole point of workers' rights and things. Sometimes it does come down to you. Just get together, chat about it, what's acceptable, what's not.
Yeah, we're all doing 3 hours extra every week for these subject leaderships, okay? Do you know what? We're going to say to SLT, 10% PPA just doesn't work in our school because we're a small school. We're doing way more roles than every other school around here. We get equal PPA to that school down the road. They've got 4 classes per year group. We've got 1. We're doing way more work. We simply need more time. So that's the thing. We're all here together. We all agree. We're not going to do it in our evenings anymore. There's a possible solution.
Here's a solution.
You know, we have a bit more, 10% more time out of class so we can get all these other roles done that you'd like us to do.
Oh, guys, I'd love that. But we just don't have people to cover the classes, I'm afraid. So we just can't do it.
Cool. Then we just can't do the work then.
Precisely.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah, we can't do the leadership role to that level unless, it's just insane that you think about any other job where it'd be like, oh, we can't, I'll just do it then.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it doesn't happen in other jobs because I'm sure it does. I've heard a million times where there's layoffs. Yeah. And you're like, okay, who are we replacing them with? Oh, no, well, we're just going to split up their work between everyone. And you don't get a pay rise. That's also annoying and wrong.
Yep.
And I'm not going to sit there on reels like that and go, well, actually, I'm a teacher and I always do extra work. Do you know what I'm going to do? Instead, that sounds bad. That should be fixed. Yeah. That's wrong. Because the companies just save 50 grand.
Yeah.
Just think about it. Or not to you, but to other people who sometimes just want to jump on the bandwagon and complain about something. Just think about it for more than 5 seconds. It's clearly not acceptable. Work is an exchange of your time and expertise for monetary value. That is what work is. You cannot like that. You cannot like the capitalist system we live in. But I'm not just going to do hours and hours of extra work because someone random on the internet has said, don't you like the kids? You sound like a bad teacher. Why don't you care about them? Cool. I don't care. I care about paying my mortgage. Okay. And if I'm going to sacrifice time at home, it's going to be because you're going to give me something in return. I'm not just going to do it for fun anymore.
And you know what? Even then, pay doesn't justify burnout.
Sure.
I will say that as an extra thing.
You're right.
Earlier on, you know, it doesn't stop it.
Sure.
It doesn't justify it. So there's still a situation. Don't feel bad. Oh, I'm being paid like 10 grand more than I was, but I just can't. I'm still burning out. So yeah, you can still burn out from the workload regardless of your pay.
That's a good point.
So don't always think that the money justifies it. Just bear that in mind.
Yeah. Completely.
Everyone has different thresholds as well. Some people live the job, and you know what? That's fine. For them, the pay is worth it because they're not that stressed anyway. They love it. They love the job. They work day and
But you can't project that
it.
onto everyone.
No, not everyone's in the same situation. Do you know what? That pay, same pay for you, just might not be enough justification. And actually, no pay might not be enough because you value your time more than that money with whatever you're doing. But anyway, that was cool. Good Q&A. Nice short bite-sized episode there.
Just a full-on bonus episode, guys.
It was basically, wasn't it?
Let us know if you enjoyed it. Any feedback from that would be greatly appreciated. If we answered your question and you have anything to follow up on, get us on Instagram at Teach, Sleep, Repeat Podcast. If you have your own questions, send us them because we'll do this again in a few weeks. Like I said, maybe it could be like a monthly thing. I don't know.
Wow. That'd be quite cool. I'd enjoy that.
Nice one.
Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. And we will see you
in the next bite-sized / whole episode.
It'll be a whole episode. It'll be next Monday.